thinking about buying a home in Colorado Springs, maybe you already live here, maybe you're relocating from another state, or maybe you just got orders to Fort Carson, Peterson, Schriever, or the Air Force Academy, and you're sitting across the country thinking, how in the world are we supposed to buy a house there if we don't even live there yet?
And then you start hearing all the real estate terms: pre-approval, earnest money, appraisal, inspection, closing costs, concessions.
And if you're using the VA loan, there's a whole nother list of things that you probably have heard. So today we're going to make it really simple and walk you through the home buying process from beginning to the end. We're going to talk about getting pre-approved, finding your house, how it works when you're out of state, making an offer, the VA appraisal, inspection, closing costs, the timeline, and finally getting your keys.
And obviously every transaction is going to be a little bit different, but this should give you a good idea of what to expect.
And if you're new here, we're Beau and Madison Lopez, husband and wife real estate team in Colorado Springs. We relocated here ourselves, so we know exactly what it feels like trying to navigate a move from across the country in another state and that overwhelming feeling. And really quick, before we get into everything, we have a few resources for you.
We have a Colorado Springs relocation guide, a buyer's guide, and a seller's guide for you.
So if you're moving here and you're trying to figure out different neighborhoods, local spots, things to do, schools, and just what living in Colorado Springs is actually like, make sure you grab our relocation guide. And if you're getting ready to buy and want something that's going to walk you through the buying process from beginning to end, make sure you grab our buyer's guide. And if you already own a home and you're thinking about selling, make sure you grab the seller's guide. They are all completely free and the link is down in the description. Grab whichever one or all of them, whichever is most helpful to you right now.
And if you think these videos and guides are helpful, make sure you like and subscribe for more Colorado Springs content.
Before we even start looking at houses, we want to know about you. What's bringing you to Colorado Springs? Why are you moving? Where are you going to be working? What kind of commute are you comfortable with? What's important in a home? What is your budget? Do you want a new build? Do you want a more established neighborhood? Do you want a bigger yard? Do you want to be closer to the mountains? Do you want to be closer to Target?
And if you're military, obviously your duty station is going to be a big part of that conversation. For example, someone stationed in Fort Carson might be looking in a completely different area than someone that's looking to commute all the way to the Air Force Academy.
Exactly, and that's why I think having someone that's local really matters, especially when you're relocating from another state. You can look at a map of Colorado Springs all day long, but that doesn't necessarily tell you what it feels like to live in those different areas. That's where we can really help you narrow things down.
Once we have an idea of what you're looking for, the first step is going to be getting that pre-approval with a lender.
Ideally, do this before you fall in love with the house, because we want you to know what your numbers actually look like. Your lender is going to look at things like credit, income, debt, what type of loan that you qualify for, and what your monthly payment could look like at different purchase prices.
And this is important because your maximum approval amount and what you're comfortable paying every single month might be two completely different numbers.
Yes, just because someone tells you that you qualify for a specific amount does not mean that you have to spend that amount. We want to work backwards to see what actually works for you and your lifestyle. And if you don't already have a lender, we can connect you with a few different lenders that we work with. And those lenders are great with VA loans as well.
Since so many people that we work with are military, let's talk about VA loans for a minute. One of the biggest benefits of a VA loan is that eligible buyers can potentially purchase with zero down. But zero down does not necessarily mean $0 out of pocket. That's something that we really want people to understand because you're still going to have closing costs.
Exactly. You have those closing costs, but you may also have other upfront expenses such as the appraisal and the inspection. The exact numbers are going to depend specifically on your loan and your situation. So your lender is going to be the one that will break all of that down for you. But this is also where negotiating can become very important.
That's right. Depending on the house in the market, we may be able to negotiate seller concessions to cover some of that cost. And if you're considering a new build, this is definitely something you're going to want to ask about.
Yes, builders typically have very good incentives, especially on homes that are already built and they need to sell. Those incentives can typically be used towards things like closing costs, buying down your rate, buying down the purchase price, and for VA buyers, you can also pay off other debts. And that can make a pretty big difference. Now, every builder is different. Sometimes they have incentives that just say they're offering, let's say, for example, a set interest rate. Sometimes they offer flex cash, which is when then you can use it towards all of those things like the closing costs, the rate buy down, and paying off those other debts for VA buyers.
Which is why when it comes to new builds, you don't necessarily want to just look at the house online and focus solely on the purchase price.
Exactly. There can be a lot more to those numbers. Also, if you are interested in a new build, make sure you bring your agent in from the beginning. The sales rep works for the builder and we work for you. We can help you compare builders, compare the incentives, negotiate more incentives, understand what's included in the home, and be there through inspections and walkthroughs.
Now we get to the fun part, actually house shopping. If you're local, obviously we can go out and tour homes together, but if you're PCSing or relocating, you absolutely do not need to fly to Colorado every single time that you want to look at a home. We do virtual tours all the time, and I promise we're not just going to FaceTime you from the prettiest part of the kitchen.
No, we actually want you to see the home. We'll walk through it like you're there with us. We're opening closets, we're showing you the floors, we're showing you the backyard, we're showing you what's next door and down the street. And if there's something weird, you're going to see the weird thing.
We'll make sure to show you the street view because you could absolutely love the house, but we want to make sure that you know what's around it as well. We'll talk about location and commute times. And if you're coming out for a house hunting trip, we can also plan that time really intentionally so you're not driving around Colorado Springs with no game plan. We can narrow down areas beforehand, start sending you homes so that way when you're here, we're ready to go.
Okay, so we found the one. What happens next? We write an offer, and this is where we're going to talk about more than just the price. Of course, the purchase price matters, but we're also looking at things like your closing dates, concessions, earnest money, inspection terms, and any other important terms of the contract.
Every house is going to be different.
Our strategy for a house that has been sitting on the market is going to be completely different than something that just hit the market 48 hours ago and there's multiple offers. Our job is to give you as much information as we can, walk through the options with you, and help you put together an offer that you're comfortable with. We're never going to pressure you into a home just to get the deal done. You have to live there, and we want you to love it.
Once we submit the offer, the seller can then accept it, reject it, or counter it. Sometimes there's a little back and forth, but once everyone agrees and signs, you're officially under contract.
You're usually going to have earnest money due. Earnest money is money that you put forward after going under contract to show that you're serious about buying the home. That amount can vary depending on the transaction. Assuming that everything moves forward smoothly, that money either goes towards your loan at closing or it can come back to you as well, just depending on how the lender structures the loan. This is another reason we are very deadline focused once you go under contract. There are a lot of dates that we need to keep track of, and we are helping you manage those to make sure if something does come up, you are able to get your earnest money back.
The next step is going to be the biggest part of the process. That's going to be the inspection. It's important to know that the inspection is not the appraisal.
The home inspector is looking at the condition of the home. They're looking at the roof, electrical, plumbing, and other visible and accessible components of the home. They're basically giving us a much bigger look into what you're purchasing.
And it's important to know going in that no home is going to have a perfect inspection report.
That's never going to happen. When you get an inspection report back, it is usually very long, and that does not mean you're automatically buying a terrible house. Even a new build is going to have a long inspection report. The inspector's job is to call out anything and everything that they see in the home, and then you decide if it's something that either we're going to ask the seller to fix prior to closing, or if you're like, hey, this is too much for me to take on, at that time we can terminate the contract and get your earnest money back as long as we're before that deadline, which I promise we always will be.
Our job is to help you look at that report and identify what actually matters. Are there safety concerns? Are there major issues that need to be fixed? Or an issue that could be potentially very costly? And then depending on the contractor situation, we'll determine how we're going to move forward. Whether we ask for the seller to do the repairs, or for credit, or further evaluation of the issue, or something else. And if you're out of state, you don't need to fly in for the inspection.
You absolutely can if you want to be there, but we will be there the entire time for you. And that's a huge part of what we do for our relocation clients. And it's time to the inspection and be your eyes and ears. We can talk through everything with you and help you understand what's going on. And we can also jump on a phone call with the inspector if we need to. Even if you're sitting in another state, you will still be fully involved in the process.
If we get through the inspection and then everyone agrees, next we're moving on to the appraisal.
If you're financing a home, your lender will generally require an appraisal. An appraisal is completely different from the home inspection. The appraiser's primary job is to determine the value of the home. For a VA buyer, you have a VA appraisal. And for an FHA buyer, you have an FHA appraisal. There's a misconception that an appraisal for FHA or VA are these giant scary things.
For VA and FHA appraisals, they're just looking at the value of the home and make sure that it's meeting those minimum requirements. There are certain health and safety or property condition items that can matter with VA or FHA financing. If something comes up, we'll talk through what that means and what options we have moving forward. And don't skip your independent inspection because you have an appraisal and you think that it's doing the same thing, because they're two separate things.
While we're working on the inspection and appraisal part, your lender is working behind the scenes to get the loan moving. They're verifying documents, income, employment, assets, insurance, and whatever else is needed for the loan itself. Once we're under contract, this is the point where if your lender needs something, you probably want to respond fairly quickly to make sure that things stay on track.
Also, make sure not to go finance a brand new truck or buy a horse in the middle of buying a house.
Please don't do that. Basically, do not make any major financial move before talking to your lender first while you're under contract. You don't want to get all the way almost to the end of closing and then create an issue that may not allow you to purchase the home.
So probably one of the biggest questions that we get is how long does it take to purchase a home?
A pretty typical timeline once you're under contract is 30 days. But that's not a hard rule. There are situations where we can close faster, depending on the lender, the financing, the home, title, appraisal timing, everything that goes into the transaction. Sometimes we can make it happen sooner, around 15 to 20 days, as long as everyone's on board, everything's moving smoothly. That is a pretty quick timeline, but if we need to, and it's possible, we can try to make it happen.
And then sometimes somebody's going to need more time. Maybe when you're PCSing and your report date's not for another month or two. Sometimes we can write an offer with either a 45 or even a 60-day closing, as long as the seller or the builder are in agreement to it. This is why we want you to reach out to us before you're ready. If you're thinking of moving here in 6 months, reach out. You're not going to be bothering us.
Please don't feel like you have to wait until you're ready to buy next week. We actually prefer having time to get to know you and your situation. If you tell us that you're going to move here in 6 months or a year, we can start helping you getting to know the area. We can talk about what you're looking for. We can connect you with a lender. You can start watching the market and the homes in the area to see what you're actually liking, and the homes in the neighborhoods that you're looking at, what that market is doing. Are they sitting on the market? Are they going fairly quickly? So when it's time to actually buy and place an offer, you're not going from zero. And if you're watching this and you are ready to buy next week, that doesn't mean don't reach out to us. We will help you, we will get you connected, and we will make sure we have you on track to purchase your home here.
And I think that the biggest thing that we want people that are relocating here to know is that you can do almost all of this without actually having to be here for it.
Absolutely. We have helped multiple people fully virtually purchase a home here. And we know sometimes that's necessary with PCS and relocation clients. You might only get one house hunting trip. You might not get a house hunting trip at all. That does not mean that you're on your own. We can do virtual showings. We can show you different neighborhoods. We can attend inspections. We can communicate with your lender to make sure that we're all on the same page throughout the entire process. We're helping you coordinate everything here and get it all ready while you're packing up your home in another state.
Because you already have enough going on during the move, especially if it's a PCS. You're dealing with orders, work, movers, kids, pets, travel, temporary housing. There's a lot going on at once, and we understand that. Our goal is to make the house part feel as manageable as possible. Okay, so the inspection's done, the appraisal's done, the lender's getting all the documents together. What happens next?
Now we're getting close. Your lender's working towards the final loan approval and the clear to close, and we'll also do your final walkthrough. The final walkthrough is shortly before closing, usually probably 1 to 3 days prior to closing. It's basically to make sure that the repairs that we asked for are done and the home is in the condition that we expect it to be in. We're making sure nothing major has changed since the last time that we saw the home. And again, if you're still out of state,
we can help with that too. We know that relocation timelines don't always line up perfectly. Depending on how your closing is structured and what the lender and title company will allow, there's going to be parts of the closing that you can handle remotely. And we'll help coordinate with everybody involved so you know exactly what you need to do.
And then finally, you get the keys. This is, of course, everyone's favorite part. Once everything is signed, the funds are handled, your transaction is officially closed, and the home is yours. And hopefully by that point, you feel like the buying process was a lot more manageable and easy than you thought it would be at the beginning.
So if you could give someone one piece of advice, what would it be?
Start the conversation earlier than you think that you need. You do not have to have everything figured out before you talk to us. You don't need to know what neighborhood you want to live in. You don't need to know exactly what you can afford. That is literally what we are here to help you with.
And don't make decisions just based off of headlines or something that your brother's cousin's friend says the market's doing nationally.
Exactly. Your situation is your situation. Maybe their interest rates aren't where you hope they would be when you go to purchase a home, but we can negotiate builders incentives and seller concessions to help with that. Maybe buying a house doesn't make sense right now, but we make a plan for the next 6 months or a year. We would rather have that conversation and maybe A, you were thinking you're wanting to rent, but actually buying does make more sense, or maybe B, you were thinking about buying and it doesn't really make sense for you right now, and we come up with a plan for the future. We would rather have the conversation and figure out what makes the most sense for you instead of pressuring you into something that you're not ready for or doesn't make sense for your situation. We want to be in your corner every step of the way, especially when you're PCSing or relocating here and you don't have your people here yet.
And if you made it all the way through this video, I hope that the buying process feels a little bit more manageable now. And don't forget about the free guides that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you're relocating or PCSing to Colorado Springs, grab our Colorado Springs relocation guide. If you're thinking about buying, grab our buyer's guide. And if you're thinking about selling, we have a seller's guide for you as well. The link for all of them are going to be right down in the description.
And whether you're moving next month, 6 months from now, a year from now, or you're just thinking about maybe Colorado Springs and if it's the right fit for you and your family, no matter which one it is, our messages are always open. We would love to answer your questions, help you figure out what areas might work for you, and just start making a game plan.
And again, make sure to like and subscribe because we're going to be making more videos about Colorado Springs, different neighborhoods, what it's like to live here, the buying, the selling process, PCS moves. We'll have everything you need.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and if Colorado Springs is where you're headed, we would love to help you plant roots here. We'll see you in the next one.